welcome to the Senior View. And today, back by popular demand, we have Gail Clifford and John Palmer from the Historical Society. And they're going to be talking more on the town common. So this is our third time, and they're going to be talking about the monuments, the continuation, like they started last time they were here. So we're going to learn more about the history of our beautiful town common. Thank you for coming back. So many people have said, Mary, that was great.
Pleasure.
So,
Good.
yes, it is great.
Very happy to hear that.
Yes. And I understand, Gail, that you will be starting. Okay.
I'm going to talk about the gazebos on the common. And I have to say the word apparent. Apparently, there were 3 gazebos on the common. Unfortunately, I only found one reference to the first one, which was built in 1903 and was just outside the corner of the common where Hayden Row meets Main Street, near the watering trough, if you remember that from last time. And it disappeared sometime before 1940. But that's all I know about it. Every single picture or postcard I've seen of Uptown has not shown a bandstand or gazebo of any kind. So I have to say apparent on that one. So we'll call the next one the first one, was proposed in 1981 by Ernest Vecto, who wanted to have a memorial for veterans on the common. And he thought that a nice gazebo would be useful as well as a good memorial. So anyway, after a lot of talking about it, the ground was finally broken in 1986. And on the gazebo, let me show you the picture. This is the picture of that first one. There's a plaque. There was a plaque put on that said, "In memory of the sons and daughters of Hopkinton who made the supreme sacrifice of life and all who served in wars or conflicts for the preservation of our free nation." And then later on in 1995, another plaque was put up honoring Ernie Vecto for 60 years of service to country, church, and community. So after about 20 years, that gazebo started deteriorating. The roof was going. There was a lot of dampness in the basement. This is underneath here. The floor is here. That was a basement area used for storage, and all the electrical was in there, and dampness was getting in, and the electricity part wasn't working very well. And the other problem was that the American Disabilities Act had come forward, and in order to make that gazebo accessible, they would have had to build a ramp probably half the distance of the common in order to accommodate the regulations. So it was proposed to rebuild the gazebo or demolish and make a new one around 2009. This one would be lower to the ground, would have a built-in ramp. And I believe it was a group called the Friends of the Common who put forward that idea. And they raised money separately. It was not town money. They raised money, and a lot of the labor and materials were donated. So this is the present gazebo that we have now. And just for fun, notice that there's a flagpole there, because I'm going to be talking about an old flagpole at some point. So the plaques that were on the original gazebo were moved over, and I think there was something about a weather vane, too, that was also moved over. And this was actually dedicated in 2009 on Memorial Day.
We're going to go on to one that I found very, very interesting. Last time when I was here, I started with the first one I did was what I call the most photographed monument in the photographed monument that we have. This one I'm going to say is the least photographed monument. The name of the memorial is the Lee D. Hughes Square, and we'll learn about Lee D. Hughes in a second. But when we talked about this, Gail brought up about this monument. I says, I don't know where it is. And I had already gone down the common and was taking photographs of all the monuments, and she said, you didn't do the Lee D. Hughes. I said, didn't find it. Well, it's there in plain sight, but you don't see it. And I'll show you why. It looks like a traffic sign. It's on the corner of Hayden Row and Main Street. But the top of it reads Lee D. Hughes Square. So anyways, I call it hidden in plain view. But Lee Hughes, his full name is Lee Driscoll Hughes. He was an officer in the Grand Army of the Republic. That's World War I. He was the first Hopkinton casualty. He was the first soldier that was died in the war. There was three soldiers that lost their lives in World War I. Last time when I was here, I said there was, on the Doughboy statue, there was 115 names. Mm-hmm. The three people that I'm going to mention now are there. I said there were 115 casualties. No, there was 3 casualties. 115 soldiers served. The other 2 casualties were Daniel L. McDonough. He lived on Grove Street. And J. Stanley McIntyre. He lived on Hayden Row. But the memorial is to Lee Hughes. Lee was born a lieutenant. He was a lieutenant, first lieutenant in the U.S. Army. Lieutenant Hughes was born in 1890. He lived on Summer Street, and he died in France in 1918, killed in service at age 28. The town held a military funeral in his honor. The funeral was at the First Congregational Church. Oh, there was I'm not sure if it was the town, but there was a major funeral in his honor at the church. All the military organizations were represented. There was a firing squad, a rifle squad that came from Camp Devens, and they fired the salute, the military salute. All the town churches tolled their bells. The bells in all the churches rang. During the cortege, there was refreshments afterwards in the town hall. At that time, there was a dining area in the town hall. Lieutenant Hughes he's buried in Mount Auburn Cemetery. His gravestone is engraved First Lieutenant Headquarters Company, 306th Infantry, AEF, American Expeditionary Force, died in France. Now, something I've learned recently, because I'm paying attention to this downtown corridor project that the town is advocating or proposing, something that ties into this memorial, in the corner of Hayden Row and Main, the proposal would take some of the width of Hayden Row and shrink it, and the width that Hayden Row loses is going to be right where this memorial is. So this memorial presumably will be grassed. There'll be grass area there. It won't be a road sign anymore, so it'll be more noticeable. And I'm hoping that happens, because this, as I showed, this memorial needs some refurbishment. So perhaps once it becomes more prominent, it'll get its just due. The other thing that I found interesting about this Lee Hughes was his bearing. He actually looks like the example of the Doughboy statue. I mean, he's a very
yes, I can see that.
Very statuesque soldier. anyways, that's Lee Hughes. Now we know who he is.
Very good.
Now I'm going to talk about one of the more well-known non-Hopkinton residents that are memorialized, or commemorated, I should say, on the Common, and that is Johnny Kelly of Boston Marathon
Yes.
fame. And this is a picture of his plaque, and this is located in the grass right where the crosswalks come together in the middle of the Common. And it's been there since 1966. Johnny Kelly was born in 1907, the oldest of 10 children. He ran track when he was in high school and actually ran his first Boston Marathon in 1928, but he didn't finish. He won twice. He won in 1935 and then again in 1945. Overall, he won 2 times. He was among the top 10 finishes 18 times. His last run was in 1992 at age 34. And altogether, he started the marathon 61 times, finished 58 times. And he also ran the Olympics in Berlin and in London. Berlin in 1936, he came in 18th. 1948 in London, he came in 21st, and he was 40 years old then.
I remember Johnny Kelly. I grew up in Natick.
Oh.
And the marathon used to go
Yep.
by the old Lincoln School.
Oh, yeah.
And on 135, and I can remember my father pointing out, "There's Johnny Kelly."
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. That's all I have on him.
Okay. This one here is also marathon related. I call it the Team Hoyt sculpture. This is the sculpture of Dick pushing Rick Hoyt in their mobile carriage, I guess you call it. It's a beautiful sculpture. It's on the front of Center School property. It was originally planned for the Common, but at some point there was whoever made those decisions said we have too many memorials on the Common. I guess it was considered to be overcrowding, so it ended up at Center School. But it's a beautiful sculpture. It honors the sacrifice, the self-sacrifice, the heroism, and the bond between the father and the son. I mean,
Beautiful.
It's amazing. And this one is known worldwide because of this accomplishment, running 26 miles for 30 times. They ran the Boston Marathon 30 times. So, you know, when the images come on the TV afterwards, they always have that one. Anyways, there's a motto on it, which I've taken to heart. The motto says, "Yes, you can." And it's a great motto. I'm here because I said, yes, I can. And I'm doing the other things because of
That's
that
positive.
motto. That motto. No, it's a great motto. Anyways, the statue was unveiled on Patriots' Day 2013, 4 years ago. It was commissioned by John Hancock Financial, and the sculpture was Mike Tabor from Texas. And we have a photo of it. There is Rick,
Yes.
Rick pushing, Dick pushing Rick.
Okay, I mentioned the flagpole earlier that's near the gazebo. Well, there used to be another flagpole, which was actually at the corner of Hayden Row and Main Street, very close to the intersection, directly across from the church. And I don't know any more about when it went up or when it finally came down. When it did come down, it was moved to the lawn of what's now the middle school. Whether it's still there or not, I don't know. Here's another picture, and it shows a little better the relationship in area. And I don't know how well you can see it, but right there is the horse trough that was in the middle of the intersection.
I see it.
So that's quick and easy. I don't know that much about it. Okay,
Oh, back to me.
back
back
to
to
you.
you.
Okay. This one is another interesting one. So when we were here last time, Mike Terosian said, well, there's a couple of monuments in the ground, which we overlooked those when we were doing the inventory. And one of them is for Karen Geneseo. Mrs. Geneseo was a center school teacher for 30 years. She died in 2002 prematurely. She was only 54 years old. At least 3 of my children had her for a second grade teacher. She was, and they spoke. I've talked to them about this, and they spoke. She said she's very kind-hearted, a wonderful teacher, and they raved about her. My third daughter, her name's also Karen. It was Mrs. Geneseo was her favorite teacher, and she told me a little anecdote about how they were taught penmanship, and I thought it was interesting. But she said the children had to practice all the time using a pencil and paper. They had to practice with their pencil, and they practiced with their pencil, and they practiced with their pencil. And then when Mrs. Geneseo thought they were ready, she had them do it with a pen, a ballpoint pen. And that was a big deal because they graduated from pencil to pen. And they had almost a ceremony, and they made it. And my daughter had it 40 years ago, and she still remembers receiving her pen.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I mean, that's how she taught. She was a great teacher. Anyways, the monument is presently, it sits on the ground at the base of a large maple tree. But when I was preparing for this, I spoke to a person at Center School who spoke to the principal at that time, and they said that there was a tree they was donated by Western Nurseries, and this was planted on the common, and this stone was there. It's not that tree's not there now, so something's happened to it. I don't know what the story is, but this stone sits on top of the ground, and I'm pretty sure the Parks and Rec would not like it on top. They want it flush. So,
Right.
anyways, there's some more information on that, but. This is a photo of Mrs. Geneseo.
She has a very kind, loving face, doesn't
Yeah,
she?
yeah. Kids just loved her.
Yes.
Anyways, that's the Karen
Yeah.
Geneseo Memorial.
Okay. So mine, the last one I have to talk about is a memorial in remembrance of a tragedy that happened about 15 years ago in July. There was a gas explosion at 65 Main Street in a 2-family house. And one of the families was a husband, wife, and 2 little girls. The husband and wife were found alive in the rubble, but the children did not make it. That was Violet and Iris. And this is newspaper pictures. The top one is the house as it looked like in the morning, the rubble, and the picture of the 2 little girls that appeared in the newspaper.
I remember that.
That was really sad. So they put a small plaque in the ground.
Good.
I guess this one is still in the ground,
Yeah.
or at least part of it,
It is.
in front of a tree on the common, in honor of Violet and Iris. The girls just could not be saved. They were killed in the wreckage. The family still comes every year. Family and friends gather every year in remembrance at the monument. And the parents, Heath and Carrie, have since moved to Milford, and apparently they have 2 more children. That's what I've heard. Rereading the newspaper clippings about this tragedy brought it all home again, and I have to say, our hearts go out to them. After
Yes,
15
yes.
years, it's still very, very...
It's still with us, all of us.
Yes, very raw.
Amen. to
Yes.
that. Yeah.
So basically, that is all of the monuments between the last program and this program.
Okay.
And in the remaining time, John has collected some other photographs taken from either pictures or postcards of various views of the common.
Okay.
So he's going to show you and talk about that now.
Okay, we got 5 minutes, so.
Okay, so I love these old postcards, and there's a lot of them. And the Historical Society has a large number of them, and I get interested in looking at them, the old pictures. Anyways, there's quite a few on the Common, which is our topic, and I thought I could share those. This one here, it's a postcard. It's been blown up, but on the reverse, the stamp was canceled in 1910. So I know that's an image of the Common at least as far back as
Look at
1910.
those trees.
Heavily
Wow.
treed.
Yes.
Very heavily
Yeah.
treed. You really can't see much more
No.
except the trees. So it was like a forest at that time. Then this is a little evolution here. This next one is a 1921 image, again, because it was a postcard, and that's what the cancellation date was, a 1921 date. This one is less, the trees, well, no, the trees have thinned out. They're as large as the last one. They're thinned out, but you can see, there's the walkway, one of the diagonal walkways. I think there's only one, but there's one diagonal walkway. I'm pretty sure that's Park Street behind, which is now Common Street, or have I got that reversed?
You got that reversed.
Okay. But I'm not sure of that. But anyways, that's what we looked like in 1921. So the evolution continues now to a very interesting one in 1930. This is 1930s, dating it by the car, the old car that's sitting there. But on this one, you clearly can see what I call the AA house. You can see the Doughboy statue. You can also see a flagpole at the Doughboy statue, which is not there today. And what else do we have on this one? Oh, the thing I found very interesting, I spent a long time in this we have a very great magnifying glass at the Historical Society, and you could blow this up. But there's a very interesting, it's a road sign monument. It looks like a granite post with the names of the towns, and I blew one up, and you could read it as Framingham. So it was a road directional thing. So I don't know if I can remember that or not, but there are a number of these in various towns, and that's how the traffic was directed, I guess. You read that, but so that's
when traffic was slower.
Yes. You could stop to read something like that.
Yes, stop to read.
But that was that's a good one. I love that picture.
Okay, we have 1 minute more. Do you
Okay.
have a favorite?
I have a favorite.
Okay.
I'm going to skip the next one.
That's your favorite.
I want
I
to go
know
to my
that.
favorite.
Okay.
My favorite is The Man with the Dog. I just love that. It's just
Okay.
so serene, pastoral. Look at those trees, how uniform they are. And look at the architecture of the buildings in the center of town.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's terrific.
Yes. Okay.
I love that New England architecture.
Oh, it's beautiful. We're so blessed to have a beautiful town like Hopkinton. And I'm so thankful for the Historical Society, which keeps it alive, the history. It's so important, so important. So thank you for your good works, and everybody else who is part of the society, Historical Society. Thank you so much. And I know we're going to be having you back again. We may be taking a tour of the monuments.
That would be
Yes,
interesting.
yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for watching, and you have a good night.
It's going to be just plain hot out there. So stay cool in your abode and keep your eyes on the road when you're traveling. Hey, celebrate this weekend a lot.
Every year, almost 40 children die of heat stroke after being forgotten in a vehicle. In 70-degree weather, it takes only minutes for the inside of a car to heat up like an oven. At 104 degrees, heat stroke begins, followed by loss of consciousness.
Yeah. Should go an hour and a half or so.
Leave without your child, live without them forever. Look before you lock, brought to you by Kids in Cars.
My name is Connor. My name is Nina.
I'm Haley. Hi, my name is Jake. We're the Hiller volleyball team.
My name is Emma. My name is May. My name is Shelby. My name is Sophie.
We're Alma Gal, and we love HCAM.
We love HCAM.
And I volunteer for HCAM TV.
And I watch HCAM TV.
And I love HCAM TV.
And I love HCAM TV.
We love HCAM TV.